Hey everyone, so welcome for the second day of the React.js live classes. Okay, so we're going to start about what about the like yesterday we have covered the basic things. So here we're going to cover the remaining basic things and all for the React, and then we move on to it. Okay, so before getting into the session, so it is going to be uh, this is the basics. Like if you are already TWD student, you know that how the workshop will be conducted. So this is going to be the day 2 for React.js. So we will give you the attendance form. If you fill that, you will get a free certificate and free promotions in our social pages. So you will get that. So that's what going to we going to do that. Okay, so let's get started. So if you are not watching the yesterday classes, it will be really helpful. Like it will be really you may get stuck in sometimes. So what you do, you just watch the previous things. Like the videos is already available, even it is a live workshop, the recordings also available. You can watch the previous session and you can retrieve here, even though this is also going to be a very basics one, and you can understand how the structures and the React libraries working in the JavaScript and all. Okay, so today what are the concepts we're going to see is we're going to cover about the stylings. Yesterday we touched a little bit how to use the styling with the external style sheet. We have touched that. So now what we're going to do, we're going to see about what is props and what is states, and how these two things work with the class based component and function based component. We're going to see that, and if you have any doubts, you can regarding this classes and regarding any React down, you can chat here. I will come to the chat box and I will reply to your comments and all. Okay, so let's get started. So yesterday we have created a simple UI, right? So not a great UI. So we just see about how the components work, how can we use this reusable components and all, right? So that is what we're going to do. Here you can able to see. So this is going to be the index.js that we have yesterday created it, and we have only one component. So this is going to be the app component. We discussed about what is modules and how to import and export those things, and we have discussed about. And this is come from this app.js. So inside this app.js only, we actually have all our child components. So this is act as a main component, and by using this main component we are creating most of the child component, and all the child component has been listed out here: button, caught, greet, welcome, like that we have listed out here. So we will run this code and then we can continue from here. Okay, so what we going to do, I just open the terminal and I going to use the git bash. Okay, so I just going to use the git bash, and here I just say yarn started. So we know that this is going to be the script for the terminal. So if you type yarn start, it is going to create a local host for you, and whatever that thing that you have write the code here, it is going to be displayed it in your browser. It will be open, right? So that's it. You can see starting in the development server, it is successfully developed. Once it's done, we will get what this is going to be the application that we have created yesterday. Okay, let's see how we can, by using this, how we can improve a lot. So that is what we're going to do. Okay, so we see what is properties and what is like what is props, what is going to be states and all. So Facebook really like they are well good at naming those things like props, something fancy, right? So they will naming that, but actually nothing. Props is nothing but a property. So in normal terms we will call that as a property, right? So that is going to be props. So states are nothing but, we will discuss what is state a little bit deeper. So that is actually going to be the entire thing about React. So that's how it's everything work. Okay, so we will discuss that. First we will go with the props. Okay, for doing that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove everything here. Okay, we're just going to remove here, and we will comment all the things that we actually don't want. Okay, so these all are the import and we don't want, right? So once we done it, we can able to see an empty. Okay, so this is the file that we're going to have. So what we going to do, we're just going to create a components and we're going to work on it. So right now I just going to unlock only one component, that is going to be the greet component, right? So we will open the greet file. Okay, in component you can able to see greet, right? So greet file, what we have this welcome to the session, that is what we have, right? So we will go for the greet component and we will work it. So what I going to do, I just going to here, I just going to call the greet component. So simply call the greet component as basic set. Okay, so what is going to be property, nothing but simple in HTML. If you are using the HTML, we have this attributes, right? So what are they? So they give some additional information about those properties and all, right? So they give the additional information about the tag and we can able to access it, right? So if you know a little bit about the DOM manipulation or the backend property, you can see like if I have an form, I can able to access the value and I can able to select their ID. So DOM property, what we will do, we will grab the ID, we will grab the class, grab the tag name, we can able to change the like the attributes, right? So by using the SRC methods that we have in JavaScript, right? So we can able to do this. Exactly the same thing here also we are doing. So here we have the property, like we have this component, and property is nothing but we can able to transfer the data, like we can able to, it's like creating attribute and we can able to transfer the data to here and there. Okay, so it's going to be an attribute only. Okay, so how I can able to do this, so first what you need to do means, so here inside the property you can tell what is the data that you need to transfer. For example, consider this is going to be the parent element, and here we can able to dynamically give it. For example, how I just explained it, I just called this greet for 2 times, not 3 times. I'm calling the greet. You can able to see welcome all to the section and welcome all to the section and welcome all to the section. So instead of here, what I need to do, I just want to display different things. Like I need to display 3 things. So the first thing is going to be welcome to the session. First thing is going to be welcome to the session. This is going to be the first thing. So what is the next second one that I just want to display is, once this is done, so the second thing what I need to do, I need to display another H1 that is going to be welcome to day 2 of ReactJS, or the for this one, for the second one. And for third one, what I need to do, for third one, I need to display that this is going to be a beginner course for React, like beginner workshop for React, like that I need to display. So how can I dynamically render it? So we can use the property to fetch the value and we can able to render it. Okay, so that is what we going to do. So here what we going to do, first we go with the app.js, and whatever the property that you want to give, you can give here. Okay, you can pass it here, that is going to be the property. Okay, so you can able to pass it here, so you can able to get those data, whatever the property that you are passing, you can able to get inside this component and you can use the component. Okay, so here we can able to give the dynamic component, right? So what is the thing that I just going to say, I just say name here, not only the name here, what they can say, we can go with the name, or we can go with something other than what we can say, language. Okay, so here I just say language, and here what I'm going to do, so the language need to pass is JavaScript. Okay, so for here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pass the language, and here the naming is yours, like whatever the name that you want to give, you can. And this is going to be the data that I need to pass. So what is the data that I need to pass? Here is a string, that string data that I need to pass. So here the next thing what I'm going to do, I just going to say this is a ReactJS. Okay, so here next language, here what I need to pass, here I just want to pass the Node.js. I simply say Node.js like this. Okay, right now I have this property, so this is going to be the property. What we can able to do means, we can able to use this property here, where inside the grid, how can we use it? Okay, so here what I'm going to do, it is in a class based component. We see how the class based component work. So what I just going to do, I just going to create an first function based component, and then we move on to class based component and we will work it. Okay, so I just going to create an import statement, and here I just going to say React. So this is from React, and here I just going to create the function based component. So for creating a function based component, we know that we can directly create a function like this, or another way of creating it is like we can able to create it in a expression type. Okay, so what I just say, we can simply say const, I just say greet. Okay, so that is what we are passing it. So I just say greet, and this is going to be the expression way, and this is the short form, like arrow function. I'm using the arrow function to creating a function based component. So this is going to be a function that we have created. So the next what I'm going to do, I just going to use the return keyword. What is the thing that I want to return? Okay, so here I just using the return keyword. So whatever I need to return here, I can able to give it. So here I just create the h1. Okay, so inside this, what we can do means, we can say the language I know this. So here what I need to do, I need to display all the 3 things: JavaScript, React.js, Node.js, like that I need to display it, right? So how can I do that? Means this is something called as property, and we can do this. So whatever the thing that we are getting from here, we can able to access in this component, because we are giving those property, the props inside this component. So those data are available here. How can I get that? So for using that, you can use the props. We can simply say props, Okay, so here we can use the props property to understand that. We simply say what is in the console, right? I just say console.log, what are the things that are available in the props. Okay, simply I just say props like this. Okay, so once I go and click the inspect, you can able to see console. Okay, so these are the error, don't worry about those error. Okay, so once we done with the error, then we can move it. So we will see that this is going to be the props. So the error is coming from we are not exporting the Greek, so that is why. So simply I just using here. Okay, so I refresh here. Okay, so error is coming from greet JSX5. So okay, sorry, console, right? We just say simply console.log props. You can see it is rendered 3 times. How? So this is going to be the first, property. If I say console.log props, and you can able to see here that what are the props that are available. So it is an object, and inside the object, first props that we are available, that we have is like what? So it's going to be JavaScript, and the second props that we have available is ReactJS, and the third props we have available is Node.js. So how many times you are calling it? So based on the time, it is going to render. Okay, so what I'm going to do, the first time it is going to be JavaScript, and the second time for second element it is going to be ReactJS. So how can I use this? You can simply use this by, for writing JavaScript code, you need to use this curly braces. Okay, so for writing JavaScript code, you need to use this curly braces, and inside the curly braces you can call it. So how we can call the object? You can see the props, it is in an object manner. So simply you will need to call it is a props object. I say props dot, and what is the name that you have given to this language that you need to give. Okay, so what is the thing that I given for this naming? I just give it is a language, right? So I just given it as a language. So once it is done, you can able to see the language I know is JavaScript, the language I know is React, the language I know is Node.js. So this is called as dynamic rendering. Like by using this dynamic properties, what we are doing, we are rendering it dynamically. So what I did, greet language is equal to JavaScript. So this is for the first component. So that is going to render. So first it will render here. So for that, I giving the dynamic component JavaScript. So the second one, it is for React.js, and third one, it is for Node.js. But you can able to see that the component is single, but I just created this languages and all, right? So what it is going to do, it is going to dynamically render it. Okay, so that is what it is happening here. So that is what you can see. This is going to be a property. We can pass the property, and we are accessing it in the component. Okay, so this is comes under when it comes to the what function based component. This is going to be. So let's see how it is working in here. So before that, we see what is going to be the props children. So we have another thing. So this is simply called as props. So like creating an attribute, and we can able to do this. And the second thing we have is props children. So what is going to be the props children? It's most of the time, like not most of the time, in some cases, like if we need it, we can able to use it, or otherwise we don't want, we don't want to use it. So we can able to pass another thing, like instead of self closing the tag, what we can do, we can simply use the closing tag, and it will create what the normal HTML. So how it is create, you can create it, and inside that whatever you need to give, you can able to give. Okay, so 90%, simply I say 90%, I simply say 90%. You can see this is a normal tag, right? So we created a normal tag, and inside that what we have given, how I can able to access this in here. Okay, sorry, how can I able to access means we have props dot children. So how we have the props dot whatever the method that we have, we can accessing it. Same like that, we have props dot children. So by using this prop dot children, what we can able to do, we can able to access that. Okay, let's see how we can able to do that. Okay, simply, okay, I will tell that. Okay, just a minute. What is the greet? And you can able to see the greet here. So this is what it is fetching. It is fetching what all are the languages that we are having, that it is going to fetch us. And right now we have given some of the property, right? So once we done it, this 90%. So how we can able to fetch it? Simply I just going to create another tag. This is going to be a paragraph tag, and what I'm going to do, I just going to the JSX syntax, we need a single parent, right? So I just going to use this fragment. So what is this? It is also exactly the same what the div element, but it doesn't have any meanings. Okay, so that's it is called as a fragment. Instead of this, if you are giving a div element, that is also fine, and you can use the anything that you don't want to give any meaning, you can able to use it. Okay, so inside this paragraph tag, what I need means inside this paragraph tag, what we need is we need this one, right now we are passing something here, so we need this. How can we access it? We can able to simply access it by, you can able to see now, you can able to see in this property two things is created: language JavaScript and children is 90%. Yes, of course. So this is going to be the prop, like whatever the custom property that we need to give, that is going to be, and whatever you are giving here, there is going to be a children. So you can able to access the children simply calling, what you can call means you can call this as a props dot children. So even though it is going to be an object, so it is going to be a JavaScript code, so then you need to use this curly braces. Once you've done it, just save it. You can able to get the 90% here, and here it will not display, right? So this is the two kinds of props, like we can able to access it from the function based component, and we can able to use it. One thing is the property that we have, whatever the element that we need to pass, we can able to use it, and we can able to access it. Okay, not only this, we can able to use this for styling also. So let me see, once we come to the styling property, what we can do, we can pass the custom colors. For example, here I just say color is equal to red, and here I can say color is equal to green, and inside the styling property, what we can do, we can use the we can use the custom property and all, right? We can able to use it. So this is going to be the dynamic rendering that when it comes to ReactJS. Okay, so this is going to be how we can access in function based component. You just want to call the props dot whatever the name that you have given, and for here you need to call the children's to access the children's and all. Okay, so that is what you need to do. And for everything, if you give the same thing, it is going to be work like that only. For example, here we will give this, instead of self-closing tag, we can simply say like this, and here I just say 40%, this is going to be children, and here I just say 100%, something like that. Okay, so if I simply say it and we render it, we can able to see everything, and you can able to see that like in the console log, we are logged it in the console, right? So if I run it, refresh it, and I'm running it, you can able to see each and everything has a two inside the object. We have two elements. One is going to be the children element that is wrapped inside the tags, and another thing is going to be a language element that is going to be whatever the language that we are given here, we are given, and you can able to change according to your webs, you can able to change it. Okay, so this is going to be for the properties, when it comes to properties, and this is going to be the one thing. Okay, so then second thing what we need to do, the second thing, how we can use the properties in the class based component. So how can we use the properties in this class based component? It is also going to be the same. What you need to do, you need to do the same thing. Okay, so here we will discuss, just a minute. Here we can discuss about how we can use this in yeah, so the second topic is going to be what is going to be the states and what is going to be the props. Okay, so we're going to see about the difference between props and state, and we're going to work out with what is going to be like how can we pass the props in class based component, and how can we pass the props in the function based component. We're going to work it. Okay, so let's see how we can create a state in first class based component. How can we create it? Okay, so for that, what we going to do, we're just going to create a function. Okay, so we're just going to create another component. So I just going to name it as a counter.js. Okay, so or JSX, anything like that. So once it is done, what I'm going to do, I just going to use the import React from React, right? So once it is done, so the next thing what I just going to do, we just going to import the, like we're going to use the class based component to create a basic counter. Okay, so that is what we're going to do. So here what we do, we will comment this. Okay, so this is going to be props, that is fine. We see about the states. Okay, so simply what is going to be the state is nothing but, so I already mentioned that JavaScript use the DOM properties, node list, and get element by id, so much of properties and method we use to change that, right? Why we are using React, we don't touch the DOM, so React it will take the optimized way to do it. So then what it is going to be, state is going to be how the initially the project is looking, and when some interaction happen, so how the project need to change. So we need to give two things. So like it's like an animation, like if you're working with Photoshop like that, what like After Effects, something like that, what we will do, this is the starting phase and this is the ending phase, and it will take care about how to create this, right? So it will create the same like that. Here we will give, this is going to be the initial state of my project, and it is going to be my next state. Like once some interaction has happened, this is the state has to change like this. So that is what I give, and React take care of the DOM, like how, what is the optimized ways to change that, like that React will take care. So state is nothing but how initially, like how my project is looking, how my application is looking, and once something has happened, how my application, so like how to display that application, what is the change that I need to do, all those things. Okay, so this is going to be the transformation, and React take care of the DOMs and all. Okay, we need to tell that this is a snap, this is the first snap, and this is going to be the second step. How can I create that? Okay, so this is what we need to do it. Okay, so in the counter.js, we just going to do that. So I just going to create a class, and here I just going to create counter. So though we going to use this class based component, I just use the component. Okay, so component library to work with. Okay, so I just say counter, this is going to be extends, this is going to be extend from the component. Okay, so if you don't use the destructuring, then what you need to do, you need to call that as a react.component, like that. I use the destructuring method to destructure, and I simply call that component. Okay, so, and yesterday some of them asked that, is that JavaScript is essential for learning React? 100% yes. Okay, so without JavaScript you cannot work with the React.js. Okay, so the reason is React.js is a library for JavaScript, right? So you need to know that it is going to be a front-end library. You need to know what HTML, CSS, and also JavaScript, but you mostly work with the like JavaScript only, because HTML and CSS we can able to understand by seeing it, but JavaScript, it is little bit logic that we need to focus, like what is DOM, what is working, then only we can able to understand React much more clearly. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, so that's it. So the next thing what we will do, once we done that, we will use the render, right? We will use the render thing to render the component. We will use the render thing to render the component. And here yesterday I just create something called as constructor. So inside the constructor, I already say whatever the props that we have, properties and everything that we're going to have, that we're going to store it here only, like that I say. Okay, so here it is used for what it is used for. Here it is used for maintaining the state, like it will tell that what is the state that we need to use, and what is going to be, like if I am getting any properties, how can I use the properties, and if I am getting any the initial state, and how should the state change, everything will be there. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do, what is going to be my initial state. So I'm going to set the initial state. So for setting the initial state, if someone calls this, like we need to mention this keyword. So when it is in class, so whatever the component that is creating, this is representing that, right? So this dot state, so this component, this dot state is nothing but what it is going to be, it is going to be the initial state of this component. Right now we don't create any component, but we're going to do. So I just simply say this dot state, and here I just creating an update, and I mentioning a state, something state is that, and I just going to mention it as a 0. So the initial state will be, once we built it, you can able to understand this. Okay, so the second thing what I just going to do here, what is the component that I need to return? Okay, so what is the component that I need to return? So I simply say like this. Okay, so here what I going to do, I just going to create an div, and inside the div I just say count, and here this is going to be the initial state. So what I need to do, I need to fetch this. Okay, so this is what I need to show here. I simply say how we can able to fetch this, means you need to call this dot state dot, and here we need to tell that what is the state is going to be. So here instead of state, I just going to say count. Okay, so this is going to be the initial count of it. So I just going to say count, like this. So now what it is going to do, it is going to display as count dot what is going to be the count, and it is going to be here, and it is going to be displayed. So the next thing what I just going to do, I just going to render it to display here. So I simply say export default, and here we can able to say this is going to be the counter one, right? This is going to be the counter one. Okay, so this is going to be counter, like this. Okay, so where I need to import in the app.js JSS, I just simply say inside this you need to display the counter like this. And if I save it, we can able to see we have some errors. We will see what is the error that we are having, and then we move on to the next. So what is the error that we are having, that the super constructor is derived and the class before accessing this returning something like that. So what is this here is like, whenever we want to use something, like whenever we are creating something like that, we need to access the props and all. So, and we need to inherit the properties from where we need to inherit properties from the props. Okay, so like the parent element. So I'm just going to use the props. Okay, so here it is whatever the properties that are getting from the props we will get here. Okay, so I simply mentioning props, and we need to use the super method to access what. So to access what are the properties that are available here, like what are the properties that are available in the parents element. Okay, so once we done it, you can able to see that our counter is set. Right. So what is this super? The super method is used to access the props, like what are the default properties that are available in the water, the properties and method that are available in the parent element, we are accessing it. So without this, what it is going to do, we are not able to access it. So now where we are accessing it from, we are accessing it from the component. So once I use the constructor.super.props and this dot state, you can able to see that we are setting the state. This is going to be the initial state of it. Okay, so actually this is going to be the state. Right now you can able to see the count, it is equal to 0. Right, so what it is going to be, it is going to be my initial state. Now if some interaction is happened, so that is going to be the DOM manipulation. Right, so when some interaction is happened, what I need to do. Okay, so that is going to be we going to we going to set it again. Okay, so the simple thing what we going to do, we just going to create a button, and then what I going to, whenever someone press the button, it need to increment the value. So that is what we're going to do. So how can we do that? Means I just creating a simple button. So this is going to be the first event that we're going to see it in the button, and here we will say click, simply like this. And you can able to see here it is going to be click is here, and before this I just say use the BR statement to break it. Okay, so like this to show it in the next page. That's it. So you can able to add the CSS and all if you like to. Okay, so what is the thing is, if someone clicks that, this state, this is going to be the initial state, right? So we are rendering the state from here, and that is what displaying here. This is going to be the initial state. If someone clicks this values has to be increase by 1 or decrease by 1, or it need to change. Okay, so that is what we need to do. So for that, what we need to do, we need to use the attribute. So here the same thing how we use it in the JavaScript. We're just going to use the on click attribute. So if someone clicks this button, I need to do something. So this is, we know that this is going to take a function, right? So this is going to take a function. So what is the function that it is going to take? That we need to describe it here. Okay, simply here I just creating a function to create it. Okay, so if you know the class component, we can able to create. So the constructor is going to be the default, like the constructor method is going to be the default method that we already have to manage the data, right? So the methods, we can able to create our own method here, and we can able to act. This is going to be the component, and we can able to create in JavaScript itself. We can able to create our own method in the classes, and we can use it for our objects and all. We can able to do that. So that is what we're going to do. I just going to create a component that is going to be increment counter. Okay, so this is going to be the increment counter. So once I create this one, okay, so this is going to be increment counter. And the next thing what I going to do, if someone calls this function, what it need to do, it need to change that state. Okay, so for changing the state, first we need to access the state. So how we can access it? This dot something like that. And here it's another thing. So how we can able to change the state means, we cannot say this dot, we are not able to say this dot state dot counter, this dot state dot counter equal to 1, like equal to, we can simply say +1, like this. We are not able to do this, like we are not able to we are not counter not count. You may ask that, so like this is going to be 0. If I add that, it is going to be +1. So this dot state dot count is going to be +1, like that. This is not going to be work. So the reason for us, let me try it out. Like I just simply say that this dot state dot count, and it is going to be +1. If I call the increment counter, Okay, so this is going to be the function of it. So if I simply, if I need to call this, I need to use this dot increment counter. Okay, so this dot increment counter is going to be the function for it, and it is going to be work. So once I do it, if I do it, you can able to see this is not going to be work. The reason for this is, so this is going to be an initial state, so we are not able to touch directly, like we are not able to touch the directly, we are not able to update the state directly. Okay, so for that we have, like, we need to create a method, and then we need to do that. So for that only, React itself has a method that is going to be the set state method. So by using that set state function, the method function, anything, so that by using the set state function, what we can do, we can able to update the function. So how we can able to do this means, so first you need to use this dot set state. You can able to see this. So what this set state will do means, it will update the React DOM. It will, like, this is all actually called as the DOM. So if I use the set state method, it will take what I need to. So initially my count value is 0. I need to change it to +1. So this is going to be my end result. And the set state method is take care of the DOM operation. What is the optimized way to do that? It will take care of it. Okay, so this is the React function that we already have. We can able to use it. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, this is going to be a method. So what I need to do, then second thing here, you need to notice what it is. You need to give exact data type, how to update. For example, this is going to be an object. So then what I need to do, I need to give an object, and then I need to say it. So now what I just going to say, count. Okay, so it will have access for all the whatever the property that, like, whatever the method that you state that you have given, it will have it. So here I just say count equal to, like, whatever the count that we have given. So here it is going to be 0. So here we going to say how it is going to change. So how it is going to change means, you need to take the state value, whatever the state value that I have, whatever the state count value that I have, you need to increase that with +1. So now what it is going to do, if someone clicks this, the set state method, what it is going to do, it is going to create a new object. Okay, so it's going to create a new object, and it is going to take this value, and it is going to add with the 1, and it is going to update here, and that is what going to done here. But initially it is not possible. The reason is, React will work like you can able to, this is an object, right? So this will object. So when you create a new reference object or new object, then only the React will render. So otherwise the React will not render. So that is why, so this dot set state, you can able to see this dot count out. Here what we are creating a new object with exactly the same name, but you can able to see the like new reference of the object. Okay, so what I say here, access the, what is the value that you have, access it and add it by 1. So that is what we do. So once we do it, we run it, you can able to see this is not going to work here. So the reason for is, like, this, like, we have that this keyword, right? So this keyword is not, like, this is does not have access, like this keyword is, like, the scope of this keyword is going to be dynamic. Okay, so when I say dynamic, this keyword we can able to access in where it is called, not in the place where it is declared. Okay, so to make this sure, what we need to do, we can able to do three things. One, we can able to use the arrow function to make the change the scope of it. So here we need to tell what is going to be this. So here I need to say the what is going to be this. So if I say this, then it need to remember this one, right? So it need to remember this one. So how we can able to do this mean, I simply say this here, I just simply say this dot increment counter. Here I just simply say this dot increment counter. I just simply say this increment counter dot, and we're going to have bind method, and inside this bind method we can give this keyword. So here you can see what is the bind method will do. So if you learn about the JavaScript concept, what it is going to do, so it is going to create a new like call and apply method. What it will do, it will takes and it will borrows from the new function, and we can able to use it in the further. Like this, the bind method, what it will do, it will take the function and it will store it, and whenever we want, we can able to access it. Exactly the same thing, like if someone calls this dot counter, you need to give access for this. So which one? This one, right? So here only we have called this, so we need to give the access for here. So now we are binding, we are like right now, if I don't have this one, we are not having access here, right? So if I click this, then like we have so other, like we can able to change the DOM by using something other instead of using bind, we can able to use it. Okay, but the thing is here the this keyword is different, and here the this is different. So here the this refers to this particular one, and here the this refers to different, right? So here we need to tell that this is a reference of this one. Like if I say this dot state dot count, so here inside the set state, it need to understand, okay, so this is going to be 0, it need to understand. So that is what exactly we are doing by using this bind keyword. So by using the bind keyword, what it will do, it will keep the reference, it will creates the function, and whenever we are using this keyword, we can able to use it. Okay, so it will create a copy of that function, and we can able to use it for further reference. Okay, so that is what we are doing, and we binding this with this increment counter. So if now here this is called, so it is not in the different context, so it is the context that is related to here. So we can able to access the count, and if here we're going to have 0, and it is going to increment the value. So once we done it, you can able to see the count values get increased. Okay, so this is going to be class based component, and little bit tricky when it comes to like what so when it comes to using this one, so it is a little bit tough, right? So it is not a great way, like I'm using the bind method to know the reference of it, and then we need to do it, and so much of thing, right? So it is different. So without this, how can I do that? So without this, you can able to do this. So before that, what you need to do is you need to create an arrow function. Like there are three things is there. One, we can able to use the bind method, or other things. The second thing is you can able to give the reference of that, like if you are not able to access it, you can give the reference of it. Okay, so the third one is using arrow function. So if you don't understand what is bind, then you can go with the arrow function. What we can do, we can remove it, and here what instead of that, what we can do, everything is going to be same, and here instead of this one, you can use the arrow function here to call this function. So now what it is going to do, when you are using the arrow function to call this function, this keyword, the scope is changed. The dynamical scope is changed to the global scope, which means if you call this keyword, so it is represent, it will be available everywhere. So if you say this dot count, and you can able to access it. So right now, what is the problem is, if I say this dot count, it is not have access for it, because this state is in the constructor method, and this method is different. We are not have access it. So that is why we created an instance of it, and we are giving access. Okay, so this is related to something that we are giving it. Okay, so the same thing, instead of bind, what we can do, we can use the arrow function. If I use the arrow function, it is also going to do the same thing. Like, so in class-based component, it is little bit tricky only, but function we can able to understand it by using the hooks, and we can able to do it. But this is the core concept. If you know JavaScript, then you can able to understand it. The three things. So how we can able to change the dynamic of the, like people say, na, this keyword is a little bit weird, and it is little bit like tough to understand like that, right? So the reason for is this. Reason for this keyword is it is dynamically scope. So dynamically scope means all other than other than this keyword, all other than or it's going to be lexically scoped. So which means it is based on where it is declared. So if I'm declaring something, it is based on, if I'm creating a variable, that is going to be lexically scoped, which means it depends upon where it is declared. If I declare it in a global variable, it is going to be a global variable. If I declare it in a function, it is going to be a functional variable. If I declare it in a block level, it is going to be a block level variable. So that is going to be lexically scoped. You can able to see here, I just simply say lexical scope, this dynamic scope in JS. Okay, so other than this keyword, everything is going to be a lexical scope in JavaScript. You can able to see lexical scope refers to the location of the function, definition determines, and the variable we have to access. Like it is going to be where the variable is declared, that is going to be lexical. We can, based on that, we can able to use it. And dynamic scope is uses the location of the function invocation. What is my invocation? It is where it is declared, that is not at all matter. Where it is called, that is going to be matter. So here the dynamic scope, this has the dynamic scope. Okay, so in JavaScript, this has the dynamic scope. So here it is matter where it is called. So here it is matter what? Where it is called. So doesn't matter where it is declared. So here it is called inside the state method, and it is inside the increment count. So if I say this dot state, it does not have access to this, right? So this one, it does not have access to it, right? So if you log the console.log this dot state, it will not be, we are not able to access it. That is why we are using the bind method to give access it. So keep the reference of it, so you can use it further, like that you can able to do it. So the same exact thing what it is going to do, the arrow function will also do. So the arrow function, what it will do, it will change the keyword, it will change the this keyword dynamical scope to lexical scope, which means the global scope. So that is why we say, like when it comes to object, you are using this keyword, don't use the arrow function inside it if you don't want the lexically scoped, because it is go for the, it will change the scope of the this keyword. But here it will be used, the arrow function, it is really useful for using the this keyword. Once you done it, refresh it. Now what we can do, once we created the this keyword, we just evoke this function, okay, because this is going to be an increment call, this is going to be a callback function only, right? So this is going to be a function and we need to increment this. Once we call it, you can able to see now it is working fine. So it is also going to do the same thing. So there are three ways to change the dynamicity of this. One is going to be using the bind method, and another one is giving reference, like giving a reference inside the function by using that, like creating a variable, and we can say this is going to be the variable, and you can able to access it, like creating inside that we give the property and we can able to access it. Likewise you can able to do. And third thing is by using arrow function. So the arrow function is a little bit convenient way. What you need to do, if you want to access and if you want to change it, just use inside that function, you need to use the arrow function and call this dot increment counter, and you need to evoke it. If you evoke it, now that this keyword is going to be global scope. So if you call the this, it will this dot state, it will go and access in the global variable, and it will find that variable and it will be display it. If you don't use the arrow function, then this is lexically scoped, it will check for its parent element, like the where it is declared, it will check for it and it will see nothing is there in the name of this dot state, like I'm not able to identify it, so this is not going to be work. Okay, so this is going to be the difference between this keyword. Okay, so this is going to be the difference between this keyword when it comes to here. So here we can able to see that, like so the another thing here is, if after completing this, you can able to see this, the state is getting changed, right? So here if I say console.log, the second thing is going to be secondary callback. How can we use the secondary callback and why we need to use the secondary callback in React? Okay, so here what I'm going to do, I just simply say this dot state dot count. I simply say this dot state dot count. So once I done this, I just use the reference. You can see the state is 1, but here you can see this is returning 0. Now I click again. Now the state is 2, but it is returning the previous state 1. What is this happening? You can able to see that the this dot state count dot this dot count we have been added it. So what is happening here is, this state method, set state method, no matter what it is a small, it is a big, it is a asynchronous process. So what is going to be an asynchronous process? So if I say asynchronous process, then it is not handled by JavaScript, it is handled by the browser API. Like it is going to be like this is going to be handled by the runtime. So what it is going to do? So JavaScript, the one thing is JavaScript waits for no one, right? So JavaScript, it is not going to wait for anyone. So when some asynchronous process has been evoked, so it is a time consuming process. I am not going to handle. So what JavaScript will do, it will take the code and it will send it to the browser API. Okay, so what the browser API will do, the browser API will work on the code and they will send it to the callback queue. So the callback queue, what they will do means, it will wait for all the code to execute. Okay, it will wait for all the code to execute. Once all the code is executed successfully, then what it will do, it will set the state. So technically, if I use here, I use the console.log this dot state below this one, but the execution first, it is not going to execute first, it is going to execute the last. So that is why what happening here, because of it is a asynchronous process. I highly suggested, if you want to understand the class based component in JavaScript, like a class-based component in React, then you need to know about the asynchronous ES6 concept in the JavaScript course. Like, so that is what you need to know. Okay, so if you know the advanced concept in ES6 and asynchronous process in JavaScript, then the class-based component is not very easy. I'm not saying, like, it will be easy to understand the concept how it is working. Okay, so here it is what happening. This is a asynchronous process, so it is going to be a time-consuming process. So it will not execute now. So JavaScript, second thing, JavaScript waits for no one. So even though it is a time consuming process, it is not going to wait. So it is going to send and this code will be executed. That is why you can able to say like now the state is 2, but it will be returning 1. So how can I check whether, for example, why I'm using the console.log to debugging it? I need to know whether my state is successfully updated or not. That is why I'm using the debugging it. So how can I rectify this? So if I rectifying this, you can, what you can do means you can use the secondary callback. You can use the secondary callback and you can able to check it. So how can I use that means you just simply use this one, right? This inside this set state, this is going to be what we are what we give inside this, we will give a simply what I need to change. So the object count, and we need to set the this dot state dot count is equal to +1. We simply say it. Instead of this, what we can do, we can pass a function. Okay, so we can able to pass a function. There is several advantage by we can pass a function. For example, if I pass a function here, so we have several advantage. What are the advantages mean? We can able to access the props and we can able to access the state, like previous state. We can able to access the props and previous state here. We will discuss that how we can do that. Right now it is not needed. So here inside this, what we can do, we can tell what I need to update. So here inside this, we can simply say what I need to update, everything we can able to do it. Okay, so and also here we can able to pass the callback function. Here we can able to pass the callback function, like this. So here I simply say, so this is going to be a function. What you need to do, you need to update the this dot set state and this dot state, like first we need to say, what we need to say is count is equal to this dot state dot count, and we can simply say +1, right? Like this. So once we save it, we done it. Like we can use the callbacks. Like here, instead of using this, we can simply call this one. Yeah. Okay, we will see the how to give the function and what is the use of the function. Now you can see I will use what I say. I will say what is that I need to update. So I need to update this object. We will say that. And here what we can do, this is going to be the secondary callback. So what is the secondary callback? The secondary callback is used to, I already mentioned, it is going to be the asynchronous process. So if I want to check, like if I want to check in the current state, then what we can do, we can use the secondary callback. Here I simply say console.log. Inside this we can say that, so by using that we can able to fetch the current state of it. So instead of like we will get the 0 and 1s, right? So we will get the 0 and 1s when the state is 2. So if the state is 2, we will get 1. So we will access the previous state only. So here what we can do, we can access the current state. So what I just going to say, I just have the console.log. Here I simply say this dot state dot count. So now what it is going to do, though it is an asynchronous process, first it is going to run, and if I give this function in a callback, now what it is going to happen, this function is going to wait. This function is going to wait for this function to run, right? So once this function is completed, then only the code will be executed. So we are breaking the rule of JavaScript. So in previous what we say, JavaScript will not wait for, like JavaScript wait for no one. So there is an asynchronous process. It will send the code to that, and we will use that later. So by using this callback, so there are some concept callback, async it await, promises, and callbacks, promises, async await, and we have so much of asynchronous process like that. We have that, and by using that, what we can do, we can able to stop, we can able to control the flow of statement. Okay, so right now what is the control that we don't have is, so I need to check once the state is completed, then only I need to log this console, right? So I need to log the console. So when I give outside, it is not doing that. So before the state is completed, it will do that. So now what happened, once we do it, you can able to see it will give the current state 1 1. So if I click again 2 2, it is giving the current state. So instead of this one, if I delete here and I just going to give it here, now if I log it, you can see the current state is 1, but it is giving the previous state of it. If I click the here, you can see the current previous state is 1, but the current state is 2. So this is something that I don't want. So that is why the secondary callbacks are very useful. The secondary callbacks, by using the secondary callback, so why we are using this callbacks? Again, the JavaScript advanced asynchronous, when it comes to asynchronous, we have the callback session. So the callback session is nothing but it wait for this code to run. It wait for this code to run. Once it successfully run, once it is completed successfully, then what happened? This code will be run. So if it is going to wait until this producer code to run. Okay, so once it's done only it is going to be executed, otherwise it will not execute it. Okay, so this is going to be what happened when it comes to secondary call, like class based component. You need to check the current state of it. It is going to be here. Okay, so the second thing what we going to do, we going to create 5 times of it. Like for example, if I want to increase the count of it, what I can able to do, you can, if I want to, I have a function. If I do that, I need to increase the 5. I just want to increase it by 5 times. Like, so how can I do that? So you can create a simple another function, and inside that function you can call this function for 5 times to call that. That is going to be a weird thing that you can able to do it. So, or otherwise what you can able to do, you can able to create the previous state, like we will discuss that. So right now what I need to do means, I need to right now I just going to click this function. If I click this function, this state is increased to 5. Right now it is increasing +1, right? So I need to increase it by 5 times, directly 5 times. How can I do that? So I just simply going to say, I just going to create here, I just going to create another function that is going to be increment counter by 5. Increment counter by 5. And here what I am going to do, here we can, like, if I call this for 1 time, it is going to create for 1 plus 1. If I call this for 5 times, it is going to create for 5 times, right? Pretty logic, right? So we will do this. So I just say this dot increment counter. So if I call this for 1 time, so this is going to run the first one, right? So now what happened? The values increased to 1. So what I going to do? I just going to call the function for 5 times. Now what it is going to happen? It is going to run for 5 times. So the initial value is 0, and this is going to make 1. This is going to be make 2, 3, 4, 5. This function is going to be. This is what is going to happen exactly. No. So the answer is no. Let me see why it does not work. So let me see that. So before that, I will change this to this function. Okay. If someone clicks that, I need to run this function. Once I do it, so I just remove it. If I click this, you can able to see this is also still increasing, but it is running for 5 times. You can see the function is run, all the 5 function is run, but it is exactly doing the same thing, increasing the value by 1. The reason for that is, the state does not have the previous track of it. You can able to see this is going to be the initial state. If I say increase counter by 1, so it is what it is going to do. It is going to take the initial state and it is going to increase it by 1. So once you are again call the function, so then what happened? Again the React has come for the initial state, and then only it is going to increase. So then every time you are incrementing the value, it is going to be in the same, like it is going to be in the same counter, like it is going to be increment 1 by 1 by 1 by 1. So it is don't have access for the previous state. So that is for resolving the problem what we have. That is why I say here you can give another function. Here inside the function we have 2 things we can able to access. That is, one is going to be props and another one is going to be previous state. We can able to access the previous state of it. So if I access, so right now it is going to be 0. So if I access the previous state, then every time the function is run, so it is going to be increase the value by 1. So that is going to be. So how I can do that means, simply we just want to here, like we will remove this one to create an well stretch. So this is going to be the state. So you can able to give two function, and this function is to whatever the code that you need to execute, and this is going to be the secondary callback check, like to fetch the current state and you need to work on with. Okay, so this is going to be a secondary callback function. So here I already said we have 2 parameters we can able to access it. So the first one is going to be the previous. So we have the access for the previous state. So if I access the previous state, what is going to be the previous state? It is going to be the changed state. Okay, so if I change it to 0 to 1, so if I again run the function, now the 1 is the previous state. So by React, it is not taking the 1, it is go and take the initial state, right? So by using this previous state, we can able to access the changed state. Like it is like a chain, you can able to see 0, 1, 2, 3. So if it is 3, the previous state is going to be 2, and if it is 2, the previous state is going to be 1, and if it is 1, the previous state is going to be 0. Okay, so that is what. So here what we're going to do inside this, and we can able to use that. So how we need to change it. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I just going to use the return. This is going to be a function, and here I simply say this is going to be a function, and here we can able to say count. Here we can simply say the count equal to previous. Instead of saying the state, I just say previous state dot count. So right now the previous state is going to be 1, so like 0, and every time it is increases, this is going to be the previous state. And here either, right, it is not going to work, I know, like it is not going to work. So what I'm going to do, I just going to use it in a single line code to execute. Okay, so or otherwise you can use the return keyword to run, or otherwise you can use this curly braces to execute. Okay, so if I simply say, you need to immediately book it. Once if I click it, you can able to see it is increased by the 5 times. So what is happening? What is happening here? So now the React has, like if I say the previous state, it have access to the previous state. So what this one is going to do, so it is increment the counter, it is going to previous state. What is going to be the previous state? First it is going to be the initial state, 0 by 1. So it have access. So now it is 1, and then it is going to be 2, and then it is going to be 3, and it is going to be 4, and then it is going to be 5. Like that, it has the access for the previous counter. If I don't use the previous state, I simply say the initial state. Every time the function is run, so what is going to be 0 plus 1. So this is also 0 plus 1. This is also 0 plus 1. So the entire function, it is going to be 1 only. So now we have access to the previous state by providing the link for it. So otherwise, instead of directly evoking it, what you can do, you can simply write, if it is a one-liner code, you can simply write like this, and you can able to we can simply, this is going to be an object, so we can simply say return. What is this? What about the code that I need to return? Here you can simply be like this. Once we done it, we will refresh it, you can able to get it. So otherwise, if you don't want to use this curly braces and return, you can directly give the code and you can able to use it. Okay, so these all are the concept, these all are the previous concept, or the inheritance concept, the binding, and the asynchronous process, everything that is actually in JavaScript. That is why we are saying that without JavaScript, you are not able to handle the class based component. But when it comes to function based component, you can able to do that. Okay, so you don't want to worry about how this class based work and all. So if you don't know, like I'm not that much well sure in the JavaScript concept, like the core advanced concept, I'm not well in the bind concept, advanced function, advanced these things, then probably you can use the function based component. The reason why I'm saying, when it comes to React, the class based component are more JavaScript centric. So you know the JavaScript concept, core JavaScript concept, then you can able to understand the React. Okay, so in class based component, but function based components are React centric. So it is especially built for React. So you can able to use that. When it comes to classes, it is for JavaScript. It is focused more on JavaScript. So here from this application, we can able to see lot of JavaScript concept. They are advanced. One is why we are giving this callback here. So and we are using this evocation here. The reason is, if I use the arrow function, we changing the this keyword, we accessing that this keyword is now globally scoped. Okay, so the main thing, that this keyword is now is global scoped. So if I use the this dot state dot counter, so it is going to work in the global scope. If I don't use this arrow function, this keyword is an lexically, like dynamically scoped. What is mean by dynamical scope? So from this you can able to understand, okay, what are the concept I need to focus in JavaScript, dynamic scope, and like the scoping concept, what is going to be the lexical and dynamical scope, this keyword, and how can I change this keyword by using arrow function, bind method, and giving reference to that arrow function. This is the one concept. And the second concept is about this one, why it is not rendering, like why we are not able to set the state directly. The reason for is React will render the element once this reference or this object is changed. So only the React will render. So if you don't change the object and you are giving the same instances, then it is not going to render. So this is going to be the second process. Okay, so that is why we are creating a new object. Even though it is going to be the same, we are creating a new reference for that object. So by using, if we creating the new reference, then only it is get rendering. That is going to be the second concept. And third concept, what is the set state function, and why we are not able to, like if I use the console.log in the method, why it is giving the previous state instead of the before state. The reason is the state function is an asynchronous process. So when it comes to an asynchronous process, so JavaScript waits for no one. So those asynchronous processes are handled by the browser API, so it will be sent to the browser API. So all the JavaScript process is done, then only the asynchronous process will come in the stock queue and it will be work. So for that, you need to know about what is going to be the asynchronous process and what is going to be the callbacks and so on. You need to know about this. This is going to be the third concept. And what is going to be the fourth concept that we need to learn in JavaScript? The fourth concept that we need to learn in JavaScript, what is going to be callbacks. So the callbacks is nothing but once the function is executed, I need to wait for that particular function to complete and then I need to produce the result. Why I need to do that? So exactly, yes, you need to wait. The reason for that is if you wait for the function and you will do it, the function is going to return some value. Based on that value, I'm writing some code, then I wait for it. For example, I'm creating a function that will returns my name. So if the name is returned, then only I need to display my name in the browser. So before the process is running, I'm render the code means then the name will not display in the browser. So that is going to be the callback function, asynchronous process we need to understand here. And the final, when it comes to JavaScript, previous state. So JavaScript remembers the state, like it does not remembers the, it will remembers the initial state. Whenever where, like how many times we are changing, it is go from the initial state to the changeable state. So but by using this arrow function, like by giving the callback function inside, like giving a function callback function inside the set state, we can able to access the previous state of the function. So based on the previous state, we can able to change it. Okay, so that is going to be the previous state of it. Okay, so these are the four concept, not four, five concept. Okay, so if you familiar with this five concept, that's it. So this is going to be the hardest part in when it comes to class based component. Once you've done that, then everything is going to be exactly the same how you work in JavaScript. Okay, so this is going to be today's class. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Right, so this is going to be when it comes to, so today is all about the class based centric. Okay, so tomorrow we see about how the function based component and how to list rendering and so on thing, and we will create the application. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you can contact us in the WhatsApp group. We will give in the WhatsApp group here, and the attendance form is sad. You can fill it the attendance form, you will get the participation certificate. And if you feel the video is worthwhile, then give a like and subscribe for the channel, and it will be helps a lot. Okay, so see you in Thursday. Okay, not tomorrow, Thursday. So tomorrow we're going to have a premiere in our YouTube channel. Watch this premiere and develop your